bunch of things to talk about as well. But we'll probably give it a minute or so before we actually get started. So, yeah, just a bit. Hello.
Hi.
How are you all?
Good. How are you?
Dylan? I don't know how many more people are going to be joining in, but oh, social paper. I guess we can probably go ahead and get started. I guess I'll introduce myself first. I'm Mehar. I'm a rising senior at Georgia Tech, senior, junior, one of the two. At Georgia Tech, I study computer science, and I guess if you guys want to go, I don't know what order because the order is sort of randomized on my screen, but sort of introduce yourselves, what sort of major you are, and what year you are at UPenn.
I can go. I'm the Heck. I'm a rising sophomore, and I'm a computer science and econ major at UPenn.
I'm Brianna. I'm in the college at UPenn, and I'm a political science major, also a rising sophomore.
I'm Mehreen. I'm an economics and political science major, also a rising sophomore.
Hi, I'm Jesslyn. I'm also a rising sophomore and intended major is neuroscience.
Solid. Yeah, this is. I remember when I asked like Mehak to first do this. I was like, all right, if you want to like bring anyone else on, you can like bring someone else on, and then proceeded like over the next few days to just send like email after email after email, which is kind of great to have more people to talk to because usually just me and one other person. It's a little tough to keep a conversation going. But I guess since a lot of you guys are different majors, sort of a variety of majors, one of the things I wanted to ask about was how is the sort of structure of majors at UPenn? Like, do you get to sort of choose your own classes and sort of make your own major as you go, or is it more like there's a set group of classes you have to take and you try to finish all of these requirements, and then it's hard to sort of take classes outside of what you want, or like what you actually have to do for your major?
Yeah, so I'd say it depends a lot on which school you're in. So we're all in the college. We have a lot of requirements that are like college specific. But you can kind of, I'd say, like make up your major as you go in the sense that you don't have to come in with your major decided. I didn't come in with it decided. I think like Jocelyn switched her major too. Brianna and Marine can talk about their exploration of it as well, but you can choose as you go. It's pretty easy to finish the major requirements themselves, but it's kind of hard to get through like all of the different sector requirements that we have. That would be the tough part, I'd say.
All right.
Yeah, I think in terms of the major, in the college, most classes or most majors are about 12 to 14 classes. So I'd say finishing those requirements would be, I'd say, like somewhat more easier than the college requirements. And then even like within each major, it's very different. Some of them are a lot more structured than others. So with some majors, you have a lot of flexibility in terms of what you want to take compared to other majors.
So I just saw someone ask a question if we got any college credits for any of the AP classes we took. Personally, I didn't get any credits, but I do know that there's certain classes, like I know AP Chemistry, if you get a 5, you get a credit, but it only counts if you're gonna be a chemistry major. And AP Micro Econ and AP Macro, if you get a 5 in those, it's like a requirement for, not a requirement, like it covers micro and macro in the college, but it doesn't count if you're majoring in econ. So even then, I think you still have to take classes. So it's a little bit limited, but yeah.
I would say though, it's really helpful for math classes for skipping because math at Penn is not the best, doesn't have the best rep, and you can skip like Calc 2 if you get a 5 on BC Calc AP. So if you're looking to come to Penn, I would definitely actually study for your APs if they're math related because it definitely helps.
Yeah, no, any college, just skip math. Don't take math in college; it's rough. Unless you're a math major. When you're guys talking about like the college, is that like a separate thing within UPenn? Are there like individual colleges, or is it just like one thing called the college?
Yeah, so Penn has 4 colleges. There's the engineering school, the nursing school, Wharton, and then the college. The full name is College of Arts and Sciences, and it's like pretty much like any other school. It has a lot of majors, and yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, are you guys all part of like just that colleges of arts and sciences? Is that what? Oh, all right, that makes sense. Then. I guess how like given that a lot of you are rising sophomores, you got to experience a lot of the freshman classes as well. I guess what are the sort of general class sizes that you see at like for one of your freshman seminars or one of the general requirement classes that you get to take as a freshman? Do you sort of see it getting smaller as you go on?
I think it really depends on the class. There are some classes like general chemistry that I think it's like 300 students, or maybe 200. So that one's huge. But then writing seminar, which is like a class that freshmen typically take, that's like 15 students. And I'd say it also depends on the major. The STEM classes do tend to be a lot larger, especially during the freshman and sophomore years. But I think with the humanities ones, can't speak to it completely. I think Macarene and Brianna might have a better answer, but they tend to be slightly smaller.
So I think a lot of the freshman seminars and writing seminar classes are on the smaller side, and then also same with the language classes. It's usually about 15 people, and then the intro classes for most humanities classes, I'd say they're smaller than the STEM classes, but they're still pretty big, like around 150 people.
Yeah, and I'd say even the bigger classes, like the STEM ones, usually have recitations, and that's where you get like your smaller class size, like 15 to 20. But it really can vary. I don't think it's not like a liberal arts school where every class is guaranteed to be small. You can definitely have like in a lot of the intro to CS classes, you'll have like a couple hundred people, and they'll split it into sections. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a similar story to us. Like we have, like say our first year like language or the English class that we have, that's like groups of 15 to 20. But we've had some classes for like intro to CS and stuff like that where it's about like 400 people, like 500 people, and it's like 2 sections only. So it's pretty rough then. But I guess now at least we have TAs and stuff like that that help make it sort of a lot better. I guess on that sort of TA side of things, are there sort of is there really are the TAs like is the TA program really nice at UPenn? Like, do you feel like, especially in the freshman classes, that they have enough TAs and sort of stuff to help you out, even in like major requirement classes or the core classes too?
I think for CS, and Justine, you can speak more to this about like general STEM, but I think the TAs literally like they help you pass the class. Like I would not have been able to do it without them. Like they hold office hours for like 6 hours until 10 p.m. And like if you have homework problems, anything, you go to them. It's really well set up too, because I think STEM professors know that TAs are so useful for that. Oh, and also I saw the CS question in the chat, so I could just answer that. Basically, computer science is housed in the School of Engineering, but the School of Engineering has like a sort of deal with the college that if you're doing a major in the college, then you can also do a second major of computer science, and like you'll get it on your diploma and everything. And I think that's because generally in a lot of schools, CS is in the School of Arts and Sciences. So we don't have like a separate like computer engineering, computer science. It's kind of weird, but it's housed in the School of Engineering. But if you want to do it as a double major, you're allowed to in the college only.
Right. I guess to more the liberal arts type of classes as well. Is there a good TA program for those as well? Because I know for us, there's that's sort of a tough point. Is the TAs for those classes usually are either like research students that don't really know much about teaching, or they're not really that passionate about like TAing for those classes. I guess what's the situation like for those as well?
I feel like a lot of students at Penn would say that like TAs are a hit or miss. Like I know Marina and I, for example, we had a different experience with like our TAs for econ. Like they graded a bit differently. So I guess that's the only like I guess downside of it that could be a hit or miss. But everything else, like I feel like the TAs, at least in my experience in the humanities, they've been very passionate about everything they teach. Like I took this class about Imperial Russian history, which is like oddly specific, but the TA was like just super passionate about everything he was doing. He's been to Russia like dozens of times, and you could just like he made the class a lot more enjoyable and a lot easier to pass and get everything done just because of like the passion that he put into his work. So I feel like I really enjoy the TAs. Like, they make everything much more understandable and enjoyable.
One thing I'd like to add, especially for like if you're pre-med or a possible chem major, the TAs actually make the exams. So it would be pretty helpful if you make good connections with them, and then you could go to them for like regrades or if there's other issues.
And then for the humanities classes, I'd say the TAs also generally grade your papers. So yeah, it's like the best thing would be to make like good connections with them, I'd say.
Yeah, get it in with your TAs. They always help out, you know. I guess Brianna just mentioned the sort of imperial like Russian history class you took. What are some, I guess, random but I guess fun classes that you guys have taken? And for me personally, I took an econ class here, and as part of the econ class, we had to write about economics in an online community. And so I did a 10-page paper on the stock exchange in RuneScape. That was what I was given, which was kind of the most bizarre assignment I've ever done in college, but probably one of the most fun classes I've had. So I guess in your guys' experience, what's sort of a random class, if you've taken any, that you thought was just a great experience to have, or if you want to take a class in the coming semesters as well, like a notorious one or something?
I know there's a freshman intro seminar about like sex and society, which is pretty interesting. I didn't take it, but like one of my friends did, and she thought it was really interesting. Like it offered a lot of different perspectives. So
Yeah. There's a class that we have as well. Oh, you can go, Heck.
Oh, no, I was just going to say something cool about Penn is that we have a lot of language classes. So Jocelyn and I actually took Punjabi our first semester, which I think is crazy. I know, Meher, you're also Punjabi, but it's not really that big of a group that you would expect your university to have a class on it. So I think it was cool. There was only like 4 of us in the class to start, but that was probably a cool class I've taken because I didn't expect for it to be at Penn.
So jealous. We don't even have like a single Indian language at all in our language pool is good, but we just don't have we don't even have Hindi or anything.
There's this one really weird class. I think it's from like 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. and you just like read philosophy for like 6 hours. And then they like take your phones away and you're just like expected to read and like talk about it at the end.
Wait, is that the existential crises class?
Yeah, that class.
That's
the name of it.
One, yeah.
But apparently it's a really cool class.
That kind of sounds like a cult. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
No, that teacher is so weird. He also teaches a class where you have to live like a monk for like 3 months. So like I met like a senior who was my writing tutor for like a paper, and he like was gonna take a vow of silence for the last semester. It's insane. That's a weird teacher, but yeah, cool.
That I don't know. Something's off about that guy. Vow of silence, and I don't know. I guess there's some questions in the chat. We'll answer this one. I guess, Justine, this is more for you. What are your thoughts on the sort of neuroscience courses or teachers, sort of that track of things, if you've experienced some of that things in your freshman year already?
Yeah, so I've only really taken one like specifically neuroscience class. I've taken the other pre-med classes that also count towards the major, but it's not like a specifically neuro class. And the one class I did take was Intro to Brain and Behavior. I love that class, and I didn't come in thinking I would be a neuro major. So I was like, okay, let me just try this class out, see how it is, and I really ended up enjoying it. My professor was great. I'd say it's a pretty time-consuming class, so the workload can get a bit heavy, especially if you have exams for the other classes like around the same time. But it's a great major. It has a reputation for being called a pre-med major because a lot of the requirements for the major are also like the med school prereqs. So if you're interested in that, that's a good option for you. I would say try it out like your first semester, and then you can see if the major's for you.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Oh wait. All right, we'll get to the one about the standout features of this in a little bit. But I guess moving on from sort of academic side of things, I want to talk about the dorms you guys were in, like your freshman dorms, because I know this is pretty polarizing, like university to university. I've had some people tell me like they've had the most amazing dorms I've ever seen in my entire life. The people like me have the most like crappiest dorms you've ever lived in your entire life. So I guess what was your y'all's experience in your sort of freshman year dorms, if you were like roommates or anything like that, or just in general, how it was for you? I guess, Mac, if you want to take that one first. Or beyond.
Okay. We like, oh, sorry. Mac, do you want to go first?
No, you got it.
Oh. So we all lived in the same dorm, Hill College House. And Mehek and I lived on the same floor, and then Jocelyn and Marine lived on the same floor, so first and third floor. Personally, I really liked our dorms, especially the other ones that paled in comparison. Like when I looked at them, I was like, we got so lucky with Hill. Like our bathrooms were for the most part a lot better than that of like the quad and things like that. A lot of people were saying like before we went to Hill that it's like less of a community, like people are less interactive, like everyone's more like kept to themselves. But I feel like there was a nice community at Hill, like everyone knew each other. It was just like, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think as far as college dorms go, you're never going to get such a great experience. It's a college dorm. But I mean, like, I didn't really see like throw up in the showers, there wasn't any of that stuff. So probably better. I know Justine and Married had some issues on the first floor. Those bathrooms got a little sus as time went on. But in general, okay, I had a single, so it was really big, but like the doubles in Hill are known to be pretty small, like tiny rooms. But I think the nice part was they had a lot of like social areas, just like on every floor there's like, I don't know, like 2 to 4, like just rooms with tables, a TV. So we'd spend a lot of time in those places because the rooms are kind of small. But in general, it was definitely a cleaner dorm than some of the others we'd heard about from our friends, the different ones around campus.
Did you guys? All right, you can go, Marine.
Yeah, I really liked how we had like the lounges on each floor. It really helped to like create a sense of community. And I'd say like out of all of the houses, I've heard that Quad is probably the most social, and then like Hill. But personally, like I really felt like I found my friends and sense of community in Hill, even like within our floor in hall. Everyone was like really approaching and super sweet. And yeah, the bathroom situation on the first floor was a bit interesting because we were also the laundry floor. So our theory was that other people on like other floors came and like messed it up, but we're not really sure what happened.
Interesting. Did you guys ever prove that theory? Is that just speculation? Just what do you think happens?
I think it's just speculation for now, but we'll see what happens next year, because apparently like all the floors are supposed to be nice in terms of the bathrooms, but for us, I don't know what happened.
Did you guys sort of ever experienced? I know what a lot of people say about, like, let's say like UPenn or another like Ivy type school is that with the older buildings and stuff like that, there's a lot of issues that come with that. Like, I don't know, lack of AC or just some parts of the building are sort of falling apart. Did you guys experience any of that with the dorm you were in, or is sort of just it felt like a nice actual place to live?
I think the people in the quad definitely did experience that. We heard of that a lot. That is like it's definitely way prettier. It's like it looks really nice, old style, like the kind of like Princeton vibe, I guess you could say. But because of that, there's like things are kind of falling apart. They need construction. Our dorm looked really ugly on the outside. It literally looked like a prison. Like it was not good. But the inside was like nice and new. So I think because our dorm was like more newly built, we didn't have those problems, but they definitely do exist. And I think Penn is like out of the Ivies probably has less old looking buildings. It's kind of more of like a mix of old and new. So maybe you wouldn't see that as much, and like to each their own if you like that or not. But yeah, that's how it was.
I also heard Hill got renovated a few years ago, so that might be why it looks nicer on the inside. But Quad had a lot of problems with mold and like people getting sick a lot um, because it hadn't been renovated in a while. But I know now they like closed off a section and they're like renovating it house by house in the Quad. So it's gonna get better eventually.
I just looked up the dorm because I was curious. It actually looks like it does actually just look like a prison on the outside. That's scary. Um, I guess on top of like the sort of food set, no, on top of the dorm side of things, how was the sort of food experience at UPenn? Do you like the food, dislike the food, a love hate relationship? What are your sort of thoughts on that?
I think I'm probably the optimist in this group regarding the food situation, and I've gotten some not so good opinions on that from the rest of this group. But I would say, okay, it's definitely not like great. It's college dorm food. Actually, I don't really think it's that good at all. But when I'm in it, then I want to try to justify it and be like, it's not so bad. But I think you can never go wrong with like the bagels. They're just bread. Um, some other stuff. I think, okay, honestly, the dining halls are probably not the best option, but we have something called Houston, which is like they have like little like it's kind of like a mall food court. So that's probably your best bet if you want to get like good food or decently good food. But I wouldn't say we're like known for our food at Penn. Definitely something that can be improved.
As the only vegetarian, I'd like to add that Houston is like a go-to. The other dining halls, especially if we get there a little later, they might be out of vegetarian options, or not just vegetarian, but like if you have any dietary restrictions. But Houston's very convenient. You can order ahead, so you could order like a little bit before your class is about to end, and then go pick it up once you're out of class.
Do you guys have any of the sort of fast food or sort of chain locations on your campus, or is everything just like on Drexel and you get jealous that they have everything that you want?
Canes is like Canes is so good. Like for some reason, the one that's gonna be closer to where we're gonna live this semester is really good, especially, and they're open like super late. So I like going there, after like hanging out, after studying for a long time, you just go there. And then there's this other place close to Canes called Honey Bro, which is like noodles. And I feel like I think Justine doesn't like it that much, but it's like noodles and you make whatever you want. And they're also open pretty late. So yeah, I feel like those two are the best ones. But yeah, Drexel does have better like fast food places. But luckily where we lived, we were really close to Drexel, so we were able to just walk over there and get whatever we wanted.
But Drexel students, you can also use like your dining dollars for like Shake Shack. Like that's insane. We have like a Starbucks, which is cool, but it's already overpriced, so you'll probably run out of your money if you use it a lot. But Drexel's definitely better on the food. In case anyone's trying to decide between the two, there's the plus for Drexel.
Shake Shack was the big one because I remember last time I didn't know there was a Cane's on the Penn campus, but last time I went to the Penn campus, I was like, this Shake Shack is like literally next door to both Drexel and Penn, but that's a big plus for Drexel. What was this? Oh yeah. I guess next sort of semester or next sort of upcoming semester, what sort of houses are you guys planning to do? Like, is it typical for people to sort of stay on campus for most of their years because of the like housing prices, or people typically move into apartments eventually?
Oh, so sophomore year, we're required to stay on campus and on a dining plan. I think this is a new policy for Penn. In the past, it was only freshman year. And we're all actually like rooming with each other. We're living in Harrison, which is one of the 3 high rises. I think they're all like around like 20, 25 floors each. And I'd say most of the sophomores live in one of the 3 houses there.
Yeah, and as for like upperclassmen, I think actually a lot of upperclassmen do live off campus. But I mean, in recent years, housing has definitely gone up outside of campus. So you will see a lot of upperclassmen living on campus as well. But I wouldn't say it's like common to live on campus all 4 years. I think a lot of people do live outside once they're upperclassmen.
Okay.
There's options that's like kind of like, so it's not considered on campus living, but UPenn still owns it. So like there's a street called Sampson Street that has a lot of housing for usually upperclassmen students.
Mhm.
And if you want to live off campus like your final 2 years, I know that there's like pricing that isn't really that bad, like 700 for rent, 800 for rent. That isn't that bad, but you have to leave campus for that. So I feel like a lot of, in terms of like safety and security, I feel like a lot of upperclassmen also prefer to do that, like that type of hybrid housing on Sampson Street and things like that. So
I would kill for 700, 800 rent. That's amazing. I guess I didn't actually ask this. I probably should have asked at the beginning, but how did you guys all meet? I guess like in terms of, I know like you so 2 like pairs were on the same like different same floors, but how did you guys all meet or sort of end up becoming friends and eventually roommates together? Completely off topic, but still.
Okay, I can start this out, but everyone needs to tell a bit. So Brianna and I were both so we were in the Benjamin Franklin Scholars Program, really pretentious sounding name, but basically we have to take 2 classes a semester in our freshman year together. So I think it was like biology and classics, and then like cognitive neuroscience and philosophy were like our 4 that we had to take together. So we like lived on the same floor because of that, and we got to know each other through that. For Jocelyn, I mean, she's like Punjabi, you know. I know her, so from class we knew each other, and then we got like way closer as the year went on. And for Marine, she lived with Jocelyn, and Marine's actually also she's from Lahore, so that's really cool. And yeah, I think we all just got to know each other like towards the end of the year. We'd all like have dinner together on the first floor table, like where we all were. So yeah.
This kind of goes back to the housing part, but Penn has program communities that you can apply to, and it's really just like, if you're like, especially as a freshman, if you don't already have friends coming into college and you're kind of like nervous about like where you're going to end up being, you can apply to these program communities, and they all do different things. I'm pretty sure there's a good amount of them, but Mahreen and I were in the healthcare innovation program community. So the purpose of that was kind of just to like learn more about like healthcare advances and things like that. You know, we did a field trip to one of the healthcare museums, which was pretty cool. And you can help meet a lot of new people doing that.
Yeah, I don't actually know. Like we have those sort of similar like groups of housing where it's like you apply to these sort of groups of people, and like I don't know what it's called for us. It's called like some sort of program thing, but it's a similar sort of thing where you take trips with a group of people, those people you dorm with. I know a lot of people met their friends through that program, but unfortunately I was not part of one of them. I guess actually there's a few questions in the chat that I kind of want to answer. What are some of the standout features of the Penn campus, architectural, otherwise? I know there's probably a lot of really cool sort of older architecture that you have on campus, but I guess what are some of your favorite places to sort of go to, look at, and be at on campus?
So I feel like this one is kind of a unique taste. Some people like it, some people don't. But the Wharton Research Building, to me, is just so pretty because on the second floor, there's like glass panes and then there's like little study rooms. And it has like a new industrial type of architecture where it's like a lot of stone and steel and then like vines and leaves in the ceiling. And I just think that combination looks really cool, and it's like really like a clearing space to like be able to focus and study. And it's just, you know, high ceilings, beautiful building, obviously very well funded. It's Warren, but yeah, it's like super pretty.
I mean, yeah, it is Wharton. It has to be a bougie building. Yeah, anyone else?
Yeah, there's also this really pretty library, Fisher Fine Arts Library. It's so beautiful. It's like if you want to like feel like you're in a really expensive place, then you should go there because it's gorgeous. It's very like older style. It is super silent in there though. If you like, one time I was trying to connect to my headphones, but they weren't fully connected, and I just pressed play. It was really awkward. Everyone gave me such dirty looks. So you should be prepared for that because it's a fully silent library, but it's really beautiful. So that's a plus.
Yeah, I'd say Fisher is probably like the most beautiful library I've ever seen. But personally, I can't really study there because it's too quiet. I like studying in Huntsman, which is another Wharton building, and then they also have like a cafe called Pret there, where I like get my coffee and then I go and study in a room for a little bit, and it's a really nice vibe.
It's Justine, do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that I feel like there's two different types of people when it comes to architecture, like the ones who like the old like aesthetics and then like the modern things. So I'd say Penn does a pretty good job of incorporating both of those. We have like the Fisher Fine Arts Library, Van Pelt, Huntsman. Those are like the older vibes, and then there's also a new library. It's called the Biotech, and that one's like a little newer. So if you're not really into the older aesthetics, and the entire like hospital and Penn bedside is like glass buildings, so that's also pretty new.
Yeah, cool part is we can go to like any of the affiliated grad school areas. So we'd go to like the law school to study, and it's so pretty in there, or like the med school building, which is also really nice. So that's kind of fun to take advantage of.
I've literally just been like opening up new tabs, looking up all the buildings. That library looks crazy. It looks like something out of like a Harry Potter or something like that. This is ridiculous. But yeah, I guess the next one would be any sort of unique or lesser known traditions at UPenn, if there are any.
Okay, we had something pretty fun in the first semester. It's called Econ Scream. So basically, I took econ my first semester, and it's a class that a lot of people in the college tend to take. And the college, I think it's like the biggest school at Penn, so, or the biggest, like one of the four. So a lot of people take it. So basically, what happens is you go to the quad at like midnight and everyone just screams. And I think they have this at a lot of schools, but it's supposed to be like right before the first midterm or like one of the big exams in econ. And this year it was like completely raining and it was really, really bad. I didn't want to go, but my friend made me. And it was fun. Noah Schnapp was like in the center of the circle and everyone was hyping him up. So if you want to see our local campus celebrity, that's definitely something to attend.
Huh. You scream like that's like the main event.
Yeah, they have like music and stuff too, but like the main part is the scream.
Interesting.
The different college houses also do like their own little traditions. I know Hill did a chair race, which I was supposed to do, but then I saw it and kind of got scared and backed out. But I'm sure the quad and the other college houses have their own little things that they do like during final season or midterm season when everyone's a little stressed out.
What's a chair race? Like, what does that imply?
Yeah, so basically, one person sits in a chair and the other person like pushes them, and you have whoever goes the fastest, like they'll record the time and everything, and whoever goes the fastest wins. It is kind of risky though, because the chairs are like they're like the little study flimsy chairs, like nothing safe about them or anything like that. You kind of just have to take the risk.
Yeah, me and Brianna were watching the chair race and we saw someone fall. And before that, we were like debating on whether we should do it. And then after we saw that, we were like, no.
I can just imagine, like, if that chair hits anything while it's racing, you're gonna face plant pretty hard onto the ground. I guess. Oh, I just got another one. It's sort of good. In terms of the sort of clubs and stuff that you guys are in, if you guys are in any or are really looking forward to joining any in your like sophomore year, what are some of the clubs that sort of stand out to you or that you think you're really interested in, or even if they're just like random clubs you see at UPenn that like I don't think this would be anywhere else in the world?
There are a lot of clubs at Penn, I would say. I think we have a really active like student life in terms of clubs. We have a ton of consulting clubs, way too many. Like, how many consulting clubs can you have? There's probably like 15. I don't know why, but that's cool. You can definitely consult if that's something you want to do. I also like, you can join the newspaper. Marianne and I are both in it. I joined it for photography, which is cool. You can just kind of get like an inside look at different campus events. Marianne writes a lot for it. Something that we have that other people don't, this, I'm not in it, but it's really cool. I think it's hard to get in. It's like a food journal. It's really cool. They review like different restaurants in Philly. And yeah, I think I wanted to get in as a photographer, but you have to have like a really in-depth food picture portfolio, which I didn't have. But there's definitely like a club for everything. I don't think it takes that many people to start a club, but they are kind of hard to get into. That's one thing I didn't expect. There's like, you have to do an interview, you have to like write a couple essays, but maybe that's in a lot of colleges. I just didn't expect clubs to be like so competitive, but there definitely is a club for whatever you want to do.
I will say though, even though a lot of the clubs are very competitive, there are like a lot. So you can easily find something that like maybe not a lot of people know about and get into that. From my experience, so I haven't really like done consulting clubs or anything like that, but there might be an interview, but it's usually like pretty laid back. And the essays, it's not like super long, it's just a few short answer questions. And depending on how popular the club is on campus, you might not even need to do that.
Yeah. I'd say like it's a similar thing for us. One with like the ridiculous amount of consulting clubs, like I don't actually see why there's like 5 consulting clubs that actually do all the same thing. But also like a lot of the more in-depth sort of, let's say, like especially from some of the more in-depth like CS clubs who get like partnerships with companies and stuff, you have to do interviews for those. Stuff like the newspaper, you do interviews for those. But there are like random like chill clubs as well. Like we had the lettuce eating club where you just go at monthly meetings and just see who can eat a head of like just a raw head of lettuce the fastest. That one does not require an interview, but it's also just painful to go through. But yeah, we sort of have that same sort of split between really chill clubs that don't really require an interview, but it's more just like sort of a social thing, and things that actually can help you in like your career or something like that. But those usually do require an interview. Another thing that I sort of wanted to ask about was in terms of, well, being like so close to Philly, being in Philly and everything like that, and in general, just the life on campus for Penn. What are some of the things you guys do for fun, like on weekends when you're going out or something like that? What are some of the typical things or fun things that people can expect to do when they're on UPenn? Unless you guys don't have fun, in which case that's kind of sad. UPenn works you hard.
It's not that hard to get to downtown and Rittenhouse Square, which has a lot of like pretty stores. It's just like downtown and Rittenhouse Square are like different places, or it's the same thing? I'm confused now.
I mean, it is like it's lower down the street numbers, so I guess it's fair to call it downtown.
Oh yeah. So it's like it's really fun, and it's just like a change of scenery. And I guess like if you go a little bit farther, there's a lot more like gardens and like fields and stuff to get into nature more. So it's not like completely buildings and stuff. There's also a lot of nature and how do you pronounce it? Schuylkill River, which is like close to Penn as well as pretty stuff.
Yeah, I'd say there are a lot of fun things to do downtown. I've been to Old City a couple times. They also have like festivals there, like street festivals, and you could just like walk into different shops, explore the city a little bit. And then me and Jasleen also like went for a walk, like 30 blocks close to New Jersey almost. So you could just like randomly walk around for fun, explore the city, go into different stores. The food there is also really great.
Oh,
Yeah, I think Philly is a really rich culture. The thing is, it's just really easy to be like encapsulated in Penn campus and forget that you're in Philly. A lot of people don't really leave campus much, but I think it's a great place to get away. I used to go for walks in the morning, like by the river to the garden, because sometimes like college is a lot. So it's nice to have like a getaway where you can see like families and people doing normal things. But in terms of like regular social life, I think Penn has a pretty active like social slash party scene. So there's always stuff to do on the weekend if you're down, or even like sometimes for like St. Patrick's Day for some reason, Penn goes crazy. So there's always stuff to do when it's like holiday time.
St. Patrick's Day, all right. Is it sort of the area around campus, like at least within campus and around campus, safe in term like generally safer than the rest of the city, or do you sort of feel like there's some sort of safety issues there?
I'd say the campus area is definitely safer than the rest of the city because of like the Penn police, Drexel police, and it's just more secure because they understand that it's a college campus. However, Queen and I did walk, like she said, 30 blocks, and hey, we're still here. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, they did that at like 10 p.m. too. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, guys. I think Philly's a lot more dangerous than I realized living in Penn. Like now that I'm home, I'll keep hearing of like drive-by shootings and crazy stuff, and I'm like, wow, we did not really think that it was that bad. Like we'd be walking to like Canes at like 2 a.m. But I think it doesn't feel like it's unsafe, but definitely be careful, I guess, because you keep hearing of all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You can go.
No, I was just gonna say that I feel like this goes for every college, but specifically for my experience at Penn, there is sort of like a bubble of safety that you're unaware of like the crazy things going outside of it. And Philly is a notoriously dangerous city. So like I just suggest that you guys get this app called Citizen. I have it. It's a little bit nerve-wracking because it does send you like notifications 24/7, like, oh, drive-by shooting 3 streets from you, blah blah blah. But at the same time, it's like you know how to like stay aware, especially if you're walking by yourself. It gives you like more safety and just like precaution on like where you're gonna head. So yeah, but I feel like the number one thing is like always take care of yourself. Like be alert, never walk alone, like ever is like the number one thing. But yeah, we haven't had that bad of experiences. So.
Yeah, pretty much the same sort of sentiment. Don't walk alone is probably the biggest one. Like walking late at night is obviously a little bit sketch in any major city, but especially like doing it alone is definitely a big thing. And with Citizen, those notifications are kind of creepy a lot of the times. Like you'll be like sitting there and you just get spammed with the just like the weirdest things showing up. But I have notifications turned off for Citizen because I don't want to see some of that stuff. But whenever I am trying to like walk somewhere and I know it's gonna be a little bit rough, then I usually do check it. But yeah, I can see the appeal of Citizen with like especially when you're trying to walk out somewhere. Oh, I just got a message. What is what is the sort of size of the Penn campus in general? And do you feel like when you're when you're going to classes, you typically like walk, bike, do you take like the bus or something like that? Or do you feel like it's a small enough area that you can just sort of walk to one side or the other, walk to your classes?
I'd say Penn is pretty small compared to other campuses in terms of the size. so we can easily like walk from our dorm to whatever class we have. And like I know like some of the athletes are taking like scooters, but there honestly isn't any need to.
I didn't know that was a universal thing, but yeah, like when I'm walking through campus, like I see like a lot of the athlete people going on bird scooters for like what is probably a 5 minute walk, but I guess they can do that.
Yeah, I think some things on campus are like a little farther. Everything's walkable, but it might be like a 20-minute walk. For example, if you're trying to go, like, the office of the newspaper is really far away, so that's kind of annoying, but you can always walk and it's good. I always get my steps in when I'm at Penn. So there's never really a need to like take a bus, but they do have like transportation available if you're going anywhere around the Penn campus, because it is pretty big if you include all the grad schools. It's just as undergrads, we usually don't have to go to those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, now that Mahek mentioned like, oh Mary, were you gonna say something?
No, you can go ahead.
Now that Mahek mentioned like the rides, there's this app called Pen Rides that you get on your phone. And if you're walking around like late at night, I think they have services from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So you could just like call a bus and they'll take you to wherever you need to go. Like the wait time is like varies sometimes, but I feel like that's something really good about Penn in terms of safety. Like they have that available for you. So
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. We have Penn rides, and then we also have Penn walks. So if you ever feel unsafe and you want to walk with someone, I think you can just download the app and then um, have like a security guard walk with you wherever you need to go, or get a ride from a bus with Penn rides. So I think that really helps with the safety.
Yeah, I used Penn Rides when I sprained my ankle, and then I could just like get a ride to the dorm. So you can use it for anything. It just takes like a little bit longer than an Uber would, but if you wait, you'll get it for free.
Do you guys also get access to like Philly like public transport, or is that something you can just pay for on your own if you need to go through like public transport like that?
Yeah, if you want to use the SEPTA, then you're gonna have to pay for it. I think they have like buses, like what is it called, like the Lucy or something. I'm pretty sure that's free. I've never used it, but I think it's pretty. I think it's free. It's just like there's not really a need to use it if you're willing to walk, but like you can SEPTA pretty far. It's pretty cheap. There's like there's this Gurdwara like really far away. I think it's on like 50th or something. Justine and I went a couple times on the weekend, and you can SEPTA there. It's probably like $5 total. So you can get around. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. I guess we can. These probably be like the last few questions that we can probably go with. What is, I guess, not really your daily schedule like, but what do you feel like you have a sort of balance between like your work and the sort of like the social life that you get at Penn? Like, do you feel like you're being overworked a lot of the times, or it's pretty casual with the way that your work and your social life are balanced?
I think people are really work hard, play hard at Penn. So I think there is a lot. There's a grind culture is very real, but then the like social culture is also very real. So I think if anything, what you need is like sometimes I feel myself wanting a break to just like sit and do nothing, because there's definitely a lot of work stuff and social stuff, but sometimes I just want to like, I don't know, like just lie there and like paint or like listen to music or something. So I think there's not like a culture of everyone always doing work all the time, but sometimes it is kind of nice to just do nothing, because I think people are often very go, go, go. So
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if this is a universal experience, but I've talked to my friends at other schools, and they say that like most of the time you're basically just studying on your own. Whereas I think for Penn students, a lot of people are studying with others, unless you just, like opt out and prefer studying on your own, which is completely fine. Um, it tends to get a little more stressful during midterms and final season, but aside from that, you can definitely have a pretty good balance of academics and social life.
Yeah, I would say like for at least like for Georgia Tech, it depends on the class. Like some classes have like a pretty big like collaboration sort of thing where like a lot of people work together and they sort of study together and stuff like that. But I feel like there are some sort of classes at Georgia Tech that make it so that you kind of are forced to be like you have to study on your own, otherwise they'll like call you out for like plagiarism or something like that, something ridiculous like that. So I can definitely see how with some of the other colleges it gets a lot more like competitive in a sense, or not even competitive. You're just forced to study on your own just because of the way the class is set up, which is pretty rough. But it's nice to have at least like a roommate or something to work with in the worst case, even if it's not like a large group of people from your class or something like that. And I guess one of the last ones you can do is, can you share interesting, surprising facts about Penn history, notable alumni, famous people on campus like Noah Schnapp? I don't know, any sort of interesting things about people who have gone there, or history facts that you just learned, or you think are pretty interesting to know about Penn that people might not know.
So this ties into also the question that he had about architecture. So Charles Adams from the Adams family went to Penn, and there's a fine arts hall dedicated in his name. And like the gates, the rails of the gates to enter the building are actually the thing from the Adams family, the hands in different positions, and it just looks really cool. So yeah, that's like a notable alumni.
That's pretty sick.
This probably isn't as interesting, but both of Joe Biden's granddaughters went to Penn. I think the older one just graduated, and then the younger one is coming in.
I also know that our med school is the oldest in the country, which also includes the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So if that interests you in any way.
Yeah, I think the international kids are kind of prominent too. I didn't really realize it, but I mean to come to the US internationally, like sometimes a lot of the time there's stuff going on, pretty important. But like it's kind of crazy to realize like how well connected people are in other countries, or like part of royalty or something. You never would have expected it. So you can definitely meet some cool people.
I met someone at Georgia Tech, and she apparently is like a close family friend of, I don't know, Mukesh Ambani, like the big like billionaire guy from India, like actual family friend who like went to like the weddings and everything like that, which was crazy. But I can definitely see a lot of the international people being well connected, considering they usually pull up to campus in the most expensive designer clothes I've ever seen in my entire life. But I don't know if that's a Penn thing, just a Georgia Tech thing, or a universal thing as well.
No, everyone wears Canada Goose. This is like an inside joke of counting. Literally everyone and their mom wears like Canada Goose. You can't find a single, maybe Montclair sprinkled in, but when it's winter, people go insane.
Yeah, yeah. Even in the spring, like people still wear like we get it. You have a Canada Goose, but they're still wearing it in like the spring and stuff. And like yeah, I feel like talking to just random people, you don't realize like who you're talking to until they like tell you. It's so crazy. Like you'll just be having a normal conversation. Like I was talking to this guy in like a political debate club called the Polybian Symposium. And I was just speaking to him, and he was like, "Oh yes, my father was in parliament." And I was like, "What? Like that's insane!" Like I would have never imagined like I would be talking to people of like that level, you know? So it's just crazy, and it's crazy meeting people from different backgrounds too, like international students, people from different cultures, like and learning their traditions and like learning to live in the same spaces as them. I think that's pretty cool. So
Do you feel like it ever gets like pretentious with some of those people, or are they usually pretty nice or down to earth? Does it like vary between them?
Yeah, it really depends who you're friends with. But if you're in that group, I think it can definitely get a lot and you won't even realize it. Sorry.
Zuko?
There's Cat. Yep. He's trying to get on camera. But I think it depends on who you're friends with. But you can also find like totally normal people. It'll just depend on like who's around you. But yeah, there's like, you can like, if you're friends with only those kind of people, you can probably think that everyone is like so rich and like, wow, but it's not really like that. It's just the more prominent groups that are.
Speaking of normal people, I want to say it's pretty diverse. And I know Mehak already mentioned this, but there's not that many Punjabis in the country. So it was like amazing when I saw, oh my god, there's another freshman and she's Punjabi. Like, this is gonna be so cool. I've never really like had another Punjabi person in high school or elementary or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's sort of like the opposite. New Jersey, we have a lot of Punjabi people concentrated in our one sort of area. I know Matt could speak to this too, but there's a lot of Punjabi people in our one small area. But then when I moved to Georgia Tech, there's like maybe like 10 or so scattered across like 3 colleges who like wear pug and everything. So it's pretty crazy seeing how much like the diversity shifts both like east and west and north, like the northeast and the south as well. All right, I just want to be mindful of time. We'll go with one last one. Are there any annual or recurring events at Penn that you would consider can't miss experiences? It's just similar to like the one we talked about before, but if there's any other ones you want to speak on.
We have like Spring Fling, which is our concert. I think a lot of schools have this, but they host like a concert with like famous singers or something in the spring. This year we had Love, but everyone thought we were gonna get Ice Spice, so that was no offense, Love, but kind of a letdown. But we also have like the Penn Relays that are hosted on Penn campus. I know those are pretty famous. It's like a big track meet for people all over the country. Um, I wouldn't say our football games, unfortunately. Penn's not that great at football. If you go, there's like probably like 5 people in the bleachers, but they do this thing where they throw toast, so that's cool.
I'd say the homecoming game would be worth going, and then Spring Fling. So we have a concert, and then we also have a festival with a lot of like free food, tote bags. So that would also be worth going.
Damn, imagine getting play. You thought it was Ice Spice and you get Love instead. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Hopefully, you get Ice Spice next year or something like that. Even though she's even more famous now, so I don't know if that's gonna happen. um, yeah, I think that's pretty much all. I guess all the questions I had and all the stuff I wanted to talk about. But thank you guys so much for coming out here. And it was a great sort of talking to you all, and great for everyone else, I think, too, for getting some of the information about Penn and stuff like that. So thank you guys once again for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. See y'all. I'll see y'all later.
How do I leave?
I got you. I'll just end it.